WoW players are not as fond of surprises as developers thought, but they're going to maintain a veil of secrecy for as long as they can until the launch of 10.2.6. Let's get right to it. Mark your calendar for, wait, that's it? Damn. Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, the show that can spin anything into a neutral take, and okay, this is going to be kind of a trip. Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe to support the channel, and you can catch me live on Twitch. The Hearthstone anniversary event began this week, and unfortunately went almost exactly as I predicted, with the event sort of mirroring the Diablo 4 crossover event from a while back, where you go to a certain location at a certain time, and you kill some mobs, you collect transmog, and that's not bad, but it's not new, and it drew some conclusions like, oh, it's not new, meaning it's recycled content, meaning it's bad, you know, something like that. What definitely frustrated folks, though, was its launch. No in-game communication to direct folks where to go. Now, that's not such a bad thing either. I mean, players are more than happy to inform people of what's up and when, and even set up add-ons and weak auras. But in what's going to be a week-long event that was also plagued with weird bugs and massive lag and a little bit of downtime on Tuesday, it feels bad. To their credit, the WoW team was responsive, fixing bugs, altering the event to occur in Valdrakken, Orgrimmar, and Stormwind all at the same time on a half-hour cooldown instead of an hour, and making the card collecting achievement available even after the event is over, and extending the event itself over another few days until March 22nd. It's another case that's not uncommon, not just in World of Warcraft, but in everything that's gaming, that if you're there for day one of the thing, it's gonna feel janky. It's unfortunate that even in a game with a 20-year history of launching events and features that these things still happen. They shouldn't, but they do. A lot of folks show up to be first, to share in the collective energy of other people excited for something that's new to participate in. But I'd argue that a lot more folks just kind of meander in. They log on and play, and they're like, okay, cool, so what's going on? Oh, hey, look, look at all this stuff that I'm getting, and the experience is pretty smooth. Yeah, be thankful that we beta tested for you. I'm not bitter at all. This week, we learned that the WoW team really wasn't kidding about keeping 10.2.6 a surprise. To explain this, we gotta step way back when looking at the non-coverage of this patch, because lots of folks have embroiled themselves in this circle of what I'm gonna call toxic hype, basically getting ourselves worked up in our own headcanon and speculation and expectations. So let's go back to December 19th of 2023. I know that's like 5 years ago, when the WoW team revealed their roadmap for 2024, which included the now infamous Skull and Crossbones banner. Folks were like, oh my god, what is that? Is it pirates? Is it pirate curtains for pirate player housing? No, of course not. That'd be hella dumb. Pirates live on ships, so maybe it'll be pirate player house boating. But unfortunately, that's all we got. A few weeks later came the launch of patch 10.2.5 for those who remember, like, yay, the cool Azerothian Archives event. Hey, how about dragon riding everywhere? How about follower dungeons? That happened January 16th, and it's been 2 months since. Until that moment, we became accustomed to certain expectations throughout Dragonflight. Game director Ian Hazzikostas describes this as something to look forward to just around the corner. He said that numerous times throughout Dragonflight's lifetime. Throughout Dragonflight, we got predictable patch releases, which, by the way, is still happening in this case. This patch is coming just 9 weeks after the last. We also got a PTR very shortly after the previous patch's release, with near weekly builds to satisfy us, the over-informed. But we didn't get that this time. In fact, we got silence, unless you use social media like Twitter, and you follow specific developers, and you pay attention to a few random flag posts, and you count that as hype. The silence continued until February 6th, 3 weeks after patch 10.2.5 launched, and it was made pretty clear from that post that there will be no PTR, that WoW's next patch would launch in March, and that it'd be all kept under wraps until then. All will be revealed then, it says in bold-ass caps in case we weren't paying attention. And then, continuing to stay in character, more silence, until just the other day when they revealed the launch date of the patch, March 19th, and just the tiniest of hints. So let's take a look. Social media posted this picture of a differently stylized WoW logo and what's unmistakably a pirate flag. Note the soft blue glow, which doesn't really indicate much, but the lighting has a sort of ghostly and ethereal vibe to it. In the background is what at first looks like freehold. Similar assets can be found in the area. However, while the trees look like they come from the Tiragard Sound, the BFA zone, the screenshot doesn't reflect what is currently present in the actual freehold. It looks like this is a different area of the zone, maybe a different zone altogether. The flag shown there comes from the Irontide Pirates, who aren't just found in Freehold, but more recently, the Forbidden Reach on the Dragon Isles. We also learned that it's going to be a limited time event, which is kind of hard to give a take on. A limited time event is something that can come back with some sort of frequency, from a yearly holiday to like a time walking like schedule to a PvP brawl to a queuable thing in the next expansion, or of course, none at all, making it a very FOMO kind of event. But not knowing what it is, I'm just kind of left with talking the principle of limited time events like, oh my god, Blizz, don't do that. It doesn't quite hit the same though. That sums up what we know and when we were told these things. But the reality is that when we as gamers aren't shown things and we gotta wait, dude, we're gonna fill that time by speculating out of thin air and reacting to those speculations and setting expectations in this loop, and that's what's been happening over these past 2 months, this kind of toxic hype. I've been observing that some people by this point are pretty exhausted, that their hype is dead. Just my opinion here, but my idea of hype is different from other folks, I think. To me, hype is like teasing me with a taste of the gameplay in a trailer or maybe a series of screenshots, or like a quick montage of appearances to collect, or a cinematic display featuring the monologue of a beloved character and then a cutoff, and then the logo, and a launch date. Oh snap, here it comes, it's gonna be good, let's go! But it didn't happen here. The WoW team knows how to do sizzle reels and trailers and teases. This was not it, and that was intentional. I'm not trying to give him an excuse, I think it was a bad call too. Even though we don't have the luxury of hindsight just yet, I'm going to make this claim in confidence that maybe even if we didn't get a PTR, we could have at least been teased a tiny bit of gameplay so we'd have a clue of what we're logging into. If there are changes that have nothing to do with whatever special features are coming in this patch, we could have learned those things. I don't think that'd do much harm, but in short, knowing so little, there's nothing I can look forward to in this patch. I get what they're trying to do, and they're barely containing their excitement. I just wish that they would just share a little bit of that with us in a meaningful way. I'm only coming at this as a fan. As a content creator, not being able to cover the weekly builds or write guides, whatever, dude, that's my problem, and it's nothing that I'm going to bother trying to project onto you. And that's the extent of my personal critique, but now I gotta turn this over to you folks. Like, are you excited for next week, or are you just worn out by yours or other people's exhaustion? I also do want to mention one additional casualty of an event that's, meant to be hidden to everyone, and it's because of the way World of Warcraft works. This is going to be revealed to North American audiences first, followed by the other regions. Okay, but actually, more accurately, we'll be able to download all the patch data, and then the data mining will begin, releasing a bunch of spoilers before anybody can play, right? But the point I'm trying to get at is that North American players will, once again, be able to jump into what's new before the other regions, and that further dampens some players' excitement for this patch. There are definitely challenges with trying to global release things, from the race to world first to patches. We've also seen how it's possible to do global launches of expansions, but that's more the exception than the rule. And in that case, expansion launches do have highly visible alpha and beta tests. In a post from Holly Longdale, the team does want something like this to happen, but since it's not, there are clearly challenges that they can't overcome, and no amount of mansplaining from critics is going to help the conversation. Now, a hypothetical kind of comes to mind. What if everything was globally aligned, from expansion releases to patches to hotfixes and maintenance? And what if there's a problem in one of those regions? Does that mean that all regions have to stay offline until they're all ready, or can the others launch? Which might have some pretty negative feedback to that. Will one region be okay with a midnight launch while another is okay with a 3 a.m. launch? And the staff who work in these regions, are they going to be okay with those schedule changes? And what labor laws apply there? Some games do handle this. Can the World of Warcraft do it? So far, the answer is no. Folks have left comments that they're not excited for the patch at all, citing the lack of global release as the reason. And I kind of get it. The patch is meant to be a surprise, but one region gets first crack. From a different angle, streamers and content creators who play in the US region get their first bite at that initial traffic. But I also don't entirely get it. Like, this is access to World of Warcraft online gaming content. We're not racing for the spice or, for some finite resource. And many of those more serious content creators and streamers, they already have alternate accounts ready in this region for the sake of coverage. But with all that said, I ought to just shut up now and listen to what you have to say. That's going to be the show, and next week, it's gonna be something. My last bastion of hope are gonna be patch notes over maybe the weekend or on Monday to at least whet our appetites. Otherwise, we have no word on nothing, no promotions, no Twitch drops, none of that stuff. As soon as we do get news, I'm gonna cover it, and I'm more than likely to be around streaming Tuesday, waiting for Realms to go up. A big thanks to the folks on Twitch and Patreon. You guys have been great, and of course to you viewer, thank you very much. You made it to the end. You fed the algorithm. All you gotta do now is like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.